1.0 is for matters of just record. Your budget was 109.3 billion. You received, or you were 106.4 billion. Is that correct?
Chair, that is correct.
That's correct. So table 1 and 2 are correct. Honorable colleagues, they are for purposes of record. We don't think there is much to discuss there. Of course, there is a discussion that can show whether this budget is adequate, not adequate, but it's not an audit query. Let's go straight to 1.1, NTR. According to approved NTR estimates for the financial year under review, you budget to collect 3.87 billion. You collected 5.4 billion, which was 143% performance. Two questions. That one was posed by the Vice. What are your sources of NTR?
NTR is the private patient services, but there are also other services, Centenary Bank, and maybe the canteen and the guest house. So there are those clinical and the
future through my accounting officer. I do not have the breakdown now, but I can have it.
You came to do what now, Hajat? I think you knew we will discuss NTR, and we require you to have the number of, because you've said you collect your money first from patients, from the private wing, and those categorization of where you collect from are different. So do you have a schedule of your private wing? Schedule of payments?
We can have it, but not here.
We are at your hospital, madam. Not here, it does not work when we are here. Not here, it does not work when we are here. We want a schedule of your charges. Surely you can't fail to have come with the schedule of charges.
Honorable Chair, since
no, that's the detail.
So we
we are going to interrogate the detail. You think we are going to look at it? No, because we performed.
Mr. Chairman,
we performed beyond that, madam. It is okay. Ours go beyond a little bit deeper than that. We cannot discuss any further. Give us a schedule of your charges.
Mr. Chairman.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, refer to page 40 of our accounts.
Who's your relative here?
That Nandu.
No, they had it here. No, okay. But
that one will not stop me from, because I'm the first to ask your question. That you see now.
It is on page what?
Page 40 of your accounts. If we want a breakdown of why you've indicated that he has a sale of goods and services.
Was 5.3. Yes. Budgeted was this. Variance is that. That's okay. Sale of goods and services. For you are only showing us that you got your NTR from sale of goods and services. All these administrative fees, licenses, 0. Court fines, 0. Other fines and penalties, 0. Miscellaneous, 0. So, we want a breakdown of this. For example, I've seen somebody there. I came here with a private car. I was parking. Somebody came up with a receipt book.
Yes.
Yes, I was parking there. I did not come with it because I need to do some other assignment after here. So I came with my car. I have not moved with. But that parking there, not only for today, I normally come here. When you park in those spaces, you pay. Yeah. I've been here in Mulago. Parking is not for free in this space. Madam, don't shake your head. That one I know. Parking is not for free
Mr. Chairman, you are right. Parking is not for free. I have personally for parking, but also probably the accountant should know that we are here to verify what the Auditor General has already done with them. Now, when you tell us that you don't have it here, so what is this meeting meant for? What are we coming now, therefore, to do here? To look at you, to get to know you, or to sit with you? Because we expected that you know that we are coming to follow up those audit queries, and so you should have everything that you know. You already received the documents. So when you say that you don't have it here, what do you want us to do? We begin looking for them? Mr. Chairman, I beg that every time we report to the hospital, there are records taken. We want to know how many patients they handle, and we want to know from the private wing particularly how much they are getting.
And the charge schedule. But you have a schedule. Don't you have?
Very clear that we can't even read what is written there. It comes in bits and doesn't make any sense. And we wanted to look at those partially implemented activities in that column. So I don't know whether there's a clear book which can show what the wording should be, because it should be an explanation that can help us to appreciate.
Yes.
Chair, I think it is a complete table, only that it is a table in a table. One of our auditors has gone for the computer so that we can have this all the words can be read.
Then we do the.
Mr. Chairman, as we
Maybe you can be proceeding to do other queries as we wait for the auditor to come. Thank you.
But the Auditor General, if you have text somewhere, you can read for us and we.
But the problem, it affects page 2, page 4. Honorable colleagues, let's, because we know what it is, where we feel it's critical we can hold. But where we feel it's not critical, we can soldier on. Because this partial, for example, table 2, where we are, the overall picture is that the indicative. So can we proceed? When we reach a table where we feel we need the detail for our clarity, then we will hold. So utilization of warrants. You were warranted. I can get the end of the table. Yes, you are the warrant. You are the warrant of 106.4. You are able to utilize 103.57. You had 2,803. You did not utilize. And the monies, the monies that you did not utilize, table of underutilization, yes. For example, in human capital, 2.52 billion was boards, committees, and council allowances. Is this billions or millions? Eh? No, is it billion or millions? It is 2.5 million. Should we interrogate that, colleagues? Eh? Then the second one is 3.9 incapacity benefits. These are 33 billions, advertising and public relations. Books, periodicals, 8 million, information communication, special meals, and drinks. You had money to feed patients and you did not utilize and did not feed the patients. That one we are going to explain. You had the medical supplies, a whopping 600 million, and then people are paying, are buying medicines outside. Laboratory supplies, 100 million. Consultancy, there's this other 3.359 for maintenance, machinery, equipment, and the other transport. You had another 800 for pension, you did not pay. 800 million. You had another 522 for 21 for gratuity. Madam, can you realize this is alarming? Especially, we can, because of time, this advertising, information, communication technology, it is critical, but that's 5 million. But these special meals, where the hospital?
Yeah.
Yes?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, special meals is just one of them. But I want to appreciate Madam Edie for the milestones the institution continues to achieve. But the unfortunate thing is, if your planning is not be used there. So whereas food, as Chair has raised, is important, but even all this money here. So it means we're holding money here when other entities will have.
But don't first take us there.
Yeah.
On the overall picture. Let first, Madam, explain why
One
you
by
had
one.
money not feed them, and the money was swept back. I think that's critical.
Thank you, Chair. Last financial year was a unique one. Actually, most of this money was released in Q4, and that means we had only like 2 months. And some of these procurements could not have.
Let me just take you slow. This is for special meals. This is 132 million. I think, do you have a supplier?
A service provider.
A service provider?
Yes, we have
Now,
framework contracts.
You contract this work?
Yes, framework contracts, and we make call-offs.
Yes. If you have a contract during a financial year and you are warranted the money in the last quarter, why don't you effect payment to the contractor who has supplied you meals for the whole year?
Before we get money, it's also risky to commit these companies to supply because we are not getting enough money in the first, second, third quarter. So we are not sure. So when we got money in the last quarter, of course there are dry rations which they can supply.
First take us through your budget line. I don't know whether it is you or a planner. Is the planner here?
No.
What was the money allocated in the budget for meals and for welfare? No. For special meals and drinks. What was the budget? Planner, what's your budget line? In the budget now, I want in the budget.
Chair, in our budget we had 1.4 billion.
1.4 billion.
Yes, and that's what we were able to absorb up to that level. But Chair, also to add, that is at the end of the financial year when the system never cleared them off.
You committed this was committed fund.
You think these were committed funds that were swept back?
Some were swept back.
What is
This
some?
is the story.
Chair,
Because I will ask you, because we've been at audit and we don't take a lot of time. The auditor, when did you audit this institution? Which month? When did you exit your last exit meeting?
On November.
It was around November. Now, now, for example, if you have committed funds up to September, and they were in a queue, they still pay. So we know how the system works. So don't take us that route, sir. If you have committed to pay, and yes, the system closes on 15th of June, okay? But if you have already entered payment and there is money on your budget line, you have up to September to ensure that payment is effected for those invoices to materialize.
And Chair, this didn't happen.
It can't fail to happen. It is systems. With infamous, it is systems.
So tell us what happens when you send these invoices for payment and the year ends.
Honorable Chair, and in addition, the accounting officer was very clear that we did not pay for these special meals because we received the money late. She was very clear. Only that the planner is trying to craft a way forward. The question was very clear from your accounting officer. Do we have framework contracts with the providers that we use? Now that the money came late, we need to know, when did you get this money? When did the money come?
It's about April.
Yeah.
April, not June. About it, it's in April.
April, June.
April, May,
3
June.
months. Hey.
Money doesn't come in the last days of June.
Members, for framework contracts, a person already is known. It's only to just inform that you give a call off. It doesn't go again into the whole procurement process. I think that's how it works, you know.
So the question of procurement process doesn't arise. That the money was in the pipeline and it closed doesn't arise. So do you have an answer? And you don't pay. I don't buy them meals.
Chair, it's a call of really, it's a process, and the procurement requisition maturing into an LPO, and then the supplier completing the supply and producing an invoice and us processing payment. I think that is where we were caught up, and we apologize for that.
The accounting officer should not take us into that direction. The reasons as to why you have framework contracts is to ease work. And can you take us through, for example, if you have, say, an order for special meals, how long does it take you, for example, for the user department to initiate a requisition? The requisition, all the operators of the system are on table. If procurement is, how long does it take you to process an LPO, or to process an LPO and it goes to the supplier? And how long does it take the supplier to give a service? In brief, explain to us, what is this special meals? Actually, what are the details of the special meals? Is it food fully prepared? Is it posho? Is it cassava? Yes, we need to know, because we are talking about special meals and the details are not given. Tell us that we can know whether somebody had to go to Mbale to bring matoke and the cab, got issues along the way and they could not deliver in time. Because sincerely, with due respect, this cannot arise. You cannot justify failure when you have a framework contract with your providers and you fail to buy meals for the patients. This is pure unacceptable, accounting officer.
Now, okay, madam, explain the second segment. 624 million for medical supplies. You see, agencies are struggling to get money. For you, you have the money. This is for medical. You are not supplied by national medical stores, are you? You do your own procurement.
Chair,
you do your own
there are
procurement.
supplies which we get from, but there are also supplies which of specialized medicines which we procure as an entity.
So this 600 was of which nature?
This was from what we procure as an entity.
Yes,
so when we receive the money, Chair, and we make call-offs, these entities, some of them were unable to complete the delivery because some of those medicines they have to order from out. They may not have the quantities. And of
So
course,
do you have companies that failed to order? Can you give us those companies? That those suppliers that failed to meet their own obligation? Because you see, this is about health. Okay? We give you to supply medicine, we avail the money. You a supplier. You don't supply. Will you retain the same? Will you be? We look into your contracts. You are killing people. Government has availed the small money you need. 600 is not small money, and 24 million. So can you give us those? Do you have the list of your medical stuff and those that failed?
okay, we can avail that list, but specialized medicines are a little bit special. Yes.
The whole of the 600 is specialized.
Yes. And when you make an order, some of those drugs, it's a long list. They may supply 90%, and whatever they fail, if they have not completed the whole invoice, we cannot pay. And sometimes if they want to supply and we see it's a short shelf life, we don't accept.
Because, madam, when you read 624 million for supplies, medical supplies, 108 million for laboratory supplies, this is about treating people. Go down, I think even this consultancy may be in the same category. Go down, equipment, maintenance of machinery and equipment, 359. Of course, pension 800 million and gratuity. This money is for elderly people who have worked. They are pensioners, they are your employees. You sweep it back. Just these two are over $1 billion. Meant for you. You are going to retire. For you may be under contract. But these other lower cadres, they are going to retire. And in their old, they need this money. You swept it back. So when you add these things, these are very sentimental issues for you not to have been able to absorb the funding. Because we would be talking about areas, not so. We would be in a hospital. If you tell us because of emergencies, we spend more money. Two, these supplies are predictable. Much as they are specialized, you predict that this is the year, your suppliers know this is what you want, this is what you consume. So that list is a little bit hurting.
Chair, truth be told, it is the late release of funds in the last quarter. Some of these drugs, because they are imported, reagents have short shelf life. You cannot keep them on shelf here. Even the suppliers will bring in when they get orders. And there's a lead time.
Honorable colleagues, what do we do?
Chair, if she says that it also has a short shelf life, these people have been there, they have worked, and then you keep their money and send it back. Really? That is being insensitive.
I'll ask.
Who is your planner?
Can explain.
Commissioner HR, what happened? And by virtue of this, I think you're now going to have areas and pay it. Yet you had the money. What you supplied your pension. You gave them air. No, you go ahead.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm just joking. That's what exactly you gave them. Okay.
Yes, normally we have a process before a pension file is finally paid. Now, when we initiate a pension file, we have documents that are required. We go through audit, and then when audit has approved, that's when it gets back to the accounting officer.
But why do you make us tired? Because in the earlier argument, for the unwarranted money, you did not verify, and you never warranted that money. So can you drop that argument?
What is even most annoying
Because
is
up there you've told
verifying
us,
people who have been working with
no, not verified. Earlier they've told us why some money was not warranted. It's because they had not verified.
I think
And
these
it is
people are just
gratuity.
sleeping on
Now,
it.
you cannot bring the same argument on this table. We are listening. So now continue. Give us another argument. And do you know what you created? You created areas that should not have been created. And when you reach for where who gave you authority to create areas, it's not as simple as you think. But you continue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Because the funds were released late, we could not warrant all the funds.
We have finished the question of warrant. I said here, I will give us an question of warrant. We took with the courtesy of Honorable Modimi, we accepted and said these are thorough. They don't warrant money where they have not verified. And that was, now don't import it here.
Why we could not absorb, Chair, is that at the time we had these funds, the files were not ready for payment because of the processes.
You man, are you being serious?
Honorable Chair, that means the head HR accounting officer, what would have happened? This same money wouldn't have been warranted because you are not ready. Simple. You were not ready and you would have left them use that money for something else. You go ahead to convince your accounting officer that you can use the money. It is given to you and not utilized. And Honorable Chair, we should be sensitive. We are talking about pensioners.
Mr. Chairman, this one points towards connivance because to use, unless you have some hidden whatever intentions.
Let me
Chair,
ask you,
Chair, I was also looking at the how do you work without guidance of the board?
But if you had to ask it, what was the budget? The budget on pension and gratuity. So that means out of those two, if I take 2.48 plus 840.331 plus 500 and gratuity, they did not pay 5. Here they did not pay. We need also beyond this to go. What was warranted on gratuity?
Chair,
for gratuity?
Chair, I don't have the figures right here.
Get them and their names, and I'll write to them that you never paid them. You had the money. I'll tell my secretariat to write to them, say the HR never paid you. You had the money, and I know some of them know you.
Chair.
I'll write to them and say, your name is who, mister?
Chair.
No, what is your name? I'll write to them, tell them, what is your name?
And give them the address.
I'll give them the address and tell them, that gentleman in a financial year had your money, he never paid you, he took it back to government.
Chair, number 11, medical supplies and services, it is still itching me. I'm concluding maybe that is the very reason it intentionally to fail ordinary Ugandans so that their pharmacies can sell medicine and outside. So, Madam Idi, please, can you explain that?
Machine maintenance and equipment. You took it back. Sure. You had no machines here to spend this money on. Or it was on a specific line. Was it on a specific supplier?
Chair, thank you. As I explained, that we had frameworks and we made orders, and people could not, the companies could not complete because of the lead time of many of these items, and we could not pay incomplete deliveries. Then for servicing, when we got the money in that last quarter, and you call on the service providers, they have the items which they also use to service. This equipment is not like, they order, and sometimes those things are manufactured on order, the filters, the what, and they could not complete the service, and we couldn't pay before
Madam,
they complete the service.
can you read what the auditor observed that was not done because of this? Just read it for yourself. I don't want to read, the media is there. Things that were not done. They are there in bullets, 3 of them.
Yes.
Say, because of I had the money, I want you to put it in these words. Because I had not utilize it, the following were not done in this hospital.
That includes...
No, you repeat what I said. No? As a result of my failure to utilize the money, the following were not done in this hospital. What you failed to do, it's money to do this, and the government provided it. Because of my failure, the following were not done. Yes.
Chair, maybe for not utilizing the warrants. You see, you get a warrant, and you cannot utilize the money until you get a release. Okay,
Yes.
so...
Honorable Choma.
Yes, Chair.
That explanation we can get from them. Insist.
Yes, Chair.
Members to desist from volunteering answers.
Oh, Chair.
Yes, no, that's a standard line.
But I was wondering, because now...
No, you can't wonder.
A warrant and a release are different, but they can pick from there anyway, Chair.
You take over as the principal accountant here and you wonder very well. You wander from this side, not here. There is a side where you can't dream. The extras know. There's a posture where you can't even dream.
Whether we are going to be like this time, without tea, without any...
No. Tea, it is my own. I wanted you to first work and then you deserve tea.
It's midday, Mr. Chairman.
Tea is there in the house, but diagnostics for nuclear medicine services was not done. Surgical for transplant services was not done. Payment of social benefits and gratuity was not done. That is the auditor has noted.
Yes.
And even this committee cannot change this without any good reason. And you're not offering us to drop the query. It's a query sustained.
Chair, if I may explain.
We want to move on.
Chair, allow me. The equipment of nuclear medicine, the servicing is done by a company from Hungary. So once we get money, then, we have to transfer money to Hungary and wait for them to come. That is a process. And this transfer actually failed several times in the transfer. Now, when eventually the money is transferred to Hungary and they come and service, that's when we order for the radioactive material which we use in nuclear medicine. Why we don't order? Because when we call it a generator, when it is delivered, it decays and you must use it in 2 weeks. So you must order when you are sure that the equipment is working.
So you want to tell us that this equipment for this financial year action?
Last financial year is when we started reactivating its function. It had been non-functional for several years during the close down for renovation. So when we relocated back, then we went through acquiring a service contract and reactivating the service of nuclear medicine.
What was the cost of procuring this machine which you don't equip to be operationalizing? You know, we have a benefit of a medical doctor in our team, and we'll take advantage of him after some time. Because the argument now you are pointing us to is that this machine in the year under review was still not functional. That's the implication.
Yes. Mr. Chairman,
means,
maybe she tells us.
That means that this equipment, which you are saying is for nuclear
medicine,
and surgical equipment, because there are two, forget about the gratuity, yes, that these equipments were not functional in the year under review.
Yes, the transplant unit was designed during renovation. So to functionalize it, there were many other things we had to get in place. And that's why at the end of...
Which year was that done? Give us the year. For how long has this equipment not been functional?
That is nuclear medicine.
Yes. When was the equipment installed?
2018, 2019.
18? 2019?
Yes, and it was given to us by International Atomic Energy Agency.
That is 2018.
Yes.
To 2019 budget.
So that is given to us by the International Atomic Energy Agency.
For how many years now down the road? We are in 2024. And still not functional.
No, now it's working. When we occupied the place, there are processes. You know, where you are going to use radionuclide material, it's not like the machine is there, you start working. There are other processes, and even radiation protection and licensing, all that. We had to go through that. And now the equipment is functional. And the transplant there were many processes, including the law.
Can you put it on the list of equipment we are going to see? Is it accessible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Can you put it on the list of equipment that we are going to see?
All right.
Okay. We've taken note, irrespective of that. You are not providing us any, for example, the entity did not implement the following planned activities despite having received the required funds. Revamping and upgrade of MRI, diagnostic for nuclear medicine, surgical. I have issues with you, the auditor, on this, but let's first. It's not, Madam, did you do a diversion? You know, I don't have time. Did you do a diversion of funds or a mischarge? Somewhere.
Chair,
You did, and we will prove you right. From this, you did a diversion or a mischarge? 1.5 billion. 1.5 in the interest of time. Because, you know, I asked you here, did you do a diversion? You said no. But 1.5 says you did a diversion. That's why I'm here. These are very generous to you. I wanted you to first commit yourself on this one. Then the auditor nails you down. So they got you quickly off they should be your friends. So, for example, transactions refused, I noted that the funds to a tune of 422 were irregularly diverted from activities on which they were budgeted and spent on other activities without seeking and obtaining the necessary approvals. Diversion of funds is not only contrary to the Public Finance Management Act, but it negatively affects the delivery of services and negates the purpose of budgeting.
Chair.
I'll tell you with now our experience in auditing. The moment we assess you at output implementation, without even reading it down, I get to know that you did a diversion. Because money for activities, by the way, the auditor is being not true. Because the money for activities, 3 outputs with the 6 activities, worth 4.3 billion was not implemented. Okay? Even if now I have issues with him, because despite having received the funds, now the auditor wants to also imply that money is for table 5 is also part of the 4.3. Is that so? Is that what you mean? Let me first sort out the issues with the auditor. But meanwhile, the checks get me, because here in 1.4 the diversion is 4.3 billion. It's not this is small figure reports here of 427 billion. Million, not billion. But you can speak to diversion. Who gave you the order? Who gave you? But the amount of what you diverted is not as small as reported by the auditor. It is not 427. On the face of it, it is 4 billion point 3. And this is not all, colleagues, because even in the partial, in the 15, there is an amount of money you spent, and for partial, you spent elsewhere. So you did a lot of diversion and irregularity.
Chair, I request the head of accounts.
Get head of accounts, get planner, the 2 of them. Hajati, your brother here, Mutimi, is not going to rescue you, and I'll restrict him to not to speak on this one. Just enjoy your bogoya. Enjoy your special meal. But then, auditor, with that amount of money, why didn't you qualify this? With that level of diversion. But that is our issue. Not here. This entity should not have a unqualified. This entity, the Mulago, needed to have had a qualified opinion. Because the figure of 4.3 is, and not only the figure of 4.3, because even on the portion of the 15 billion, there is an amount of money that you diverted. But the auditor was not able, I think, to do what? This is quite a lot of money.
Chair, the accountant is going to explain.
Okay, we are here to listen.
Honorable Chair, thank you. Through my accounting officer. Even if I'm not the accounting officer, there was that mischarge of 427 million. However, partially
No.
Or the,
Let's first get figures right. The auditor pointed out only 4 points. Maybe it is on one item. 427. But the auditor, in the non-implemented, where you received the money and you did not implement and spent the money, is 4.3 billion. But out of the 15.5 billion, you also partially implemented. That means a portion, which we can't discern here, a portion of the 15.5 billion was also not spent on the purpose it was meant to be spent to. So your total diversion, okay, in the face of which there is a 4.3, don't speak only for the 47, where he was generous to you, okay? The auditor holds you accountable, and you received the money and utilized it. That's why I asked him a question to tell me whether the 2.8 is part of the 4.3.
It is true. 2.8 is actually part of the 4.3 billion that was not implemented.
Yeah, but you see, which we have sorted out in-house, he knows that that's not a proper way of reporting. When we look, we reach implementation of output, okay? We are now speaking for monies, not the monies that were not utilized. We are speaking to monies that were fully utilized and spent. Now to import even the other one, gives a misleading what? Assessment. Because now, how do I discern that the 2.8 is not part of the 15, where there is partial implementation? Because when you look at these items, they are actually not part of the 15, okay? It's not part of the 4.3, where the whole output was not implemented. The whole of this one seems to be on outputs that were partially implemented. Therefore, they are not part of the 4.3. They are part of the 15.3. Am I right?
Yeah, we can manage that in-house.
No, not in-house. There's no in-house on this. Because I want to tell them the sum of money which they diverted. Without interrogating the 15%, I'm hesitant auditor, I want you to agree with me, is that the 2.8, if we are to take your explanation, okay, is part of the 15, which were partially implemented. Because pension, gratuity, machines, blah, blah, were not part of the unimplemented outputs. They were part of the outputs that were implemented, but partially. So they are not part of the 4.3. They are part of the 15. Because on the 15 you report partial implementation. Am I right?
Chair, allow me look
You
at the
see,
schedule.
you have to inform you, for this process, we always have the auditors that audited you. They are always, because the auditors work for Parliament. So when you come to an entity that we are auditing, those auditors that audited you are part of that session. So that's why I take them on figures there. And they are employees. They are not for they are Muanga for Park, not Muanga for Auditor General now. They are for Muanga Chivumbi, not Muanga. The other one, John. Yeah, of course, as usual. So, can we agree on that? That by look at the look of things, the 2.8 is part of the 15. It can't be part of the 4.3, where the whole output. So your diversion, madam, ranges from the 400, which is just specific, but it also has the 4.3 billion. And then part of the 15, which we cannot ascertain as of now. But I have issues where we can't ascertain, but that is the other side. It's not your work. So you now speak for that.
The accounts. That was the time we were picking, or that was the time our domestic areas had been verified, and therefore we are inputting them into the system. Ministry of Finance had a challenge on the system with regard to the domestic areas module. So in the process of distribution, the figures were messed up. And as we continue, you realize that most of the lines that had a component of domestic areas has a problem, a similar problem, because of the distribution by the system. For us at the vote, we input the figures of domestic areas, but then it is Ministry of Finance that posts.
You see, liability. So you are saying these accounts are not correct.
Chair, during the time, those figures are what the system generated. However, when the system normalized, now the accounts that come out are okay. They depict or they reflect our figures that we had and that we input.
So we are saying these accounts here, speak to them.
My sister, I'm really constrained, but on page 8, on your financials, where Director Dr. Yanyima K. Rosemary has signed, the 50 is indicated, right? On page 8.
Yes.
Yeah, because you said it's not right, but it's here.
I can still explain, Honorable.
Yeah.
On page 8, which is a figure of 50. Financial performance,
yes.
50 million. Includes, it is a figure that includes actual expenditure and the accrued. And the problem is on the accruals. And every figure that has got an accrual in it, an accrual element in it, it is having the same challenge.
So Nando, you cannot spend money which has not been.
Nando, do you just refer you to page 12, the actual performance statement of appropriation?
Yes.
Page 12, are you there?
Yes.
How much? Now you go to cash flow. Or in page 10.
Yes.
That's where you discuss. Your discussion will end there.
Yes. Chair.
Yes.
Chair, the AC accounts would just be fair to us. If the system redistributed over and above the 34 that was available. But you finally recouped it. Which areas were affected? Where did that 700 come from? Which areas? Just that, and we move on with this.
Honorable Choma.
Yes.
They talked about diversion.
Thank you,
That's
Chair.
one of the-
Honorable Chair, I think the accountant which is your budget. Okay. If you are there, goods and services, the approved budget was 35.99 billion. Then you didn't get any supplementary. Therefore, your revised budget remained the same. But the actual expenditure, the actual performance is 34.53 billion. Okay? Now, we are talking for this amount in the cash flow statement. And you know, statement of appropriation, the actual is actually actual cash. And when we go to the cash flow statement, it is also cash. All those two statements are cash-based, and therefore the accrual basis does not apply. Ideally, they should be speaking the same language. So, but for your case, when you go to page 8, in your cash flow, page 10, in your cash flow statement, the line for goods and services consumed is 35.31 billion, over and above the amount indicated in the statement of appropriation. So we are asking,
Yes.
where does the variance, where does the difference come from? Yet these two statements speak in terms of cash, and no accrual. That's the first question. Then afterwards, you would answer the one of the statement of financial performance. You can first tell us about that.
Now, the difference between 35 in the cash flow and the 34 arose as a result of receivables that performed. There was a prepayment that we had made in the previous year that performed. And also we had some revenue arrears that had accrued, and we also realized the money. So when you add together, that's what it explains the difference.
Madam Accountant, you are mixing things now. How are you advise that you first leave the issue of revenues? Revenues wouldn't be coming in goods and services. But we can listen to you about the prepayment that performed. And the first question would be for you to take us where that prepayment is in the previous financial year, actually specifically the statement of financial position. You would be showing that prepayment, okay? Then we would also ask whether you actually got a permission to that effect, so to make prepayments, because prepayments are not allowed unless authorized. Then that's when we would get convinced that actually a prepayment now was retired to that amount. Would you take us there? Just to help you in your statement of financial position, that's where you would get that prepayment. In the previous financial year, 2021-2022.
Honorable Chair, some inquiry. I want to inquire from our colleague Nandutu. Were you the accountant for the year under review and for the financial under review?
Yes, I joined and signed the accounts.
You joined, so you are very comfortable responding to this.
She prepared them. Madam, stretching. On some issues, they are clear. You know, Madam, you know why I went to accounts? I told you earlier you did a diversion. And then I told you you kept denying. Even the auditor spoke to a diversion. The only difference is that the auditor understated it. Okay? Now, when Dunada said, let us take you to the financials, they will speak to that diversion. And I see you belaboring, but the point we want for those of us who are senior 6 is that you spent more money on goods and services, more than what was appropriated in that financial year. And you can't spend money what you have not been given, unless you picked it somewhere. In simple language, doctor, let's speak the language doctor will understand. Unless you picked it somewhere and spent the what? The money. And earlier on you had deduced, the auditor had told you, you diverted money. Now you could do kupalaparanya. And taking a lot of our time.
Chair. Chair.
Yeah, Judge.
Chair.
You could
of the receivable, a prepayment. And I just wanted her to take us to page 9.
So, Madam, we are going to Kuparaparanya page what, but you will not answer this one. Admission sometimes saves our time and calories. Because we have reduced it from the other side. I have other issues to settle, but I wanted to convince the accounting officer that it's like you're a doctor. It's like giving your daughter 1 million to go shopping.
She can show us.
She comes back and tells you, I've bought goods worth 1.5. The question will you ask, where did you get the money? So this is what it simply means.
Boyfriend.
Eh?
Boyfriend.
Boyfriend. So, Madam, can you consider on this one and we save our day?
Chair, I will consider at a point of requesting that I submit extra clarification, but the system does not allow over expenditure. Because if there is no money on an item, there is no way you can spend over and above. It is very clear.
Honorable Chair, I think now she is falling into her own trap and gap. Actually, that's why the chair is you. Because the fact that you find the amount of money in the statement of cash flows being higher than the amount of money in the statement of appropriation, that shows you that you were exhausted. You are refusing, since you have said it is a prepayment. Let me take you very, very quickly to your own note which talks about the prepayment. But as if you don't want again to go there. Because I wanted to show you.
No. By the way, no.
Honorable Chair, because when you go very quickly to your own account.
Take us.
Yes, page 27.
Page 27.
Where you have the note, tracing the note from the statement of financial position. The receivables can only be expended by note 22C. You will find it on 27 of your financials. After looking at the summary table up, you move down where you have the aging of net receivables as below. Then within that table of the aging of net receivables, you look for prepayments which you talked about. Okay? But you will find that it is zero. Meaning that actually you did not have the prepayments that you are talking about. So that's why the chair requested you to concede, and but you said you will concede after. So these are your own accounts.
No, I just want to concede after.
Fact.
I think
you only looked for any other item, which is a diversion.
So 27, I think.
Over to you, Chair.
No, I think even the doctor, when you go to page 27, in the prepayment, which has been our standard explanation, it is 0, 0, and total 0.
I'm not seeing it as 0.
The aging of net receivable is as below. You go to prepayments. 0, 0, it's the only 0, 0 column.
No, this is for current financial year. This is for the current year.
Which current year? These are the financials you signed.
But there is a brought forward up in the net receivables 22C of 6.453.
6.4.
Yes, which was brought forward.
Net
It
receivable.
is even a comparative.
But the one you are talking about of 6.4, if you think you cleared part of it, you can take us to the reconciliation and show us where you cleared part of it. And of course, as you show that, you'll be preparing to show us you know now what you were saved of is to answer the question where you got the permission for prepayments. But
Hajat is some food we don't eat.
and Ajat, next time you should next time
Some
of your accounts.
Some foods are
You know why I'm taking you there? Because you have said this one is for the current financial year. But when you read that table, current financial year, you also shown the column for other financial years, where the financial year you are talking about the previous financial year is inclusive. But there is zero. And these are your accounts, we will not come with them.
Mine was an MP said some meals are like porridge. You don't chew, just swallow. So this one of 707 is indefensible. There is no amount of interrogation which you will on this one of 4 finance can answer. But on 777 million is outright diversion. And you can't answer. It pays to concede, and we will see how we treat it. Let me give you comfort. You are not the only entity that has diverted. So that you concede properly. So that you concede properly, and we save our time. And the diversion is not in doubt. The auditor observed it. The only thing we differ with the auditor is on the amount that was what? Diverted. And it's not only 700. It's quite a substantial amount of money you diverted. And you're not doing engineering in figures and succeed.
And Chair, this speaks to your opening statement, that where you have problems, and instead of things you should explain, such that in the near future, the
part of
chair and others enhance.
Yes, part of our
enhance
being officer, that next year you perform better. Of course, diversion is irregular, illegal, by an extent not covered under our law, and even this committee does not even have powers to do anything. No one should tell you a lie, because we cannot amend the law during a committee's writing of reports.
But they have a window, you can apply for a supplementary.
For under which year?
No, in the future.
We advise, even on sweeping back monies that entities have, we've been advising, getting money from a budget is not easy. Instead of, if you predict, you predicted, you will not spend the money. In the process, apply for supplementary. And Parliament allows you a reallocation. Of course, finance doesn't permit that quite easily. But they can, you are an hospital. If you divert, you say this money we are predicting will not perform, instead of taking it back and going into irregularities, apply for a supplementary. A lot of people think supplementaries are seeking for additional revenue. Supplementaries major allows you to maneuver through your own budget and reallocate resources. But you don't, and you choose to do this other thing where these accounts are tell this one is doable. We can get money from this line and put it on this line. We have money. You don't have it. It's not appropriated to you. So there is an amount on goods and services. Are we done, or we also interrogate the one or statement of financial performance? We are done with that. Honorable, yes, because the other
Chair, the one of in in the statement of financial performance is obvious because they over the commitments. It is there, so that is it, Chair.
Sir.
They overcommitted the government
Don't say
over and
we are-
above what had been given to them.
Don't
in
say
the
we are
budget.
overbullying you, but I want to save time because there are other. I know accountants, they try to maneuver, but you will not succeed. Can we go to social? The entity statement of appropriation reported an actual performance of 11 billion, while the cash flow reported a performance of 11. Let me go back. Performance is 11.852 billion, while the statement of cash flow is 11.65, hence a variance of 197 billion. Explain for this underperformance in the cash flow, yet funds were provided as per statement of appropriation. And you can go down the statement of financial performance reported an expenditure of 12.704 billion on social benefits, which gives a variance of 1.049, contrary to 223,399 indicated in the statement of outstanding commitments. Justify these inconsistencies and provide explanations as to why the entity spent over and above what was appropriated, hence committing governments to arrears. The figures, give him a copy. Now I can be generous. Let us provide him a copy of this. This is our analysis, not auditor. It's from our research department. But you will not change much. You want to explain? No, please do. Feel free, Ajat. Feel free. Don't say the committee came here and bullied us, Sarah. No. I think, auditor, you'll agree with us. We may be forced to change your opinion from unqualified to a qualified. For this entity, you can even have that discussion here. Honorable Clerk, just note. I'm noting, Clerk, note that for Mulago may be able to change the narration from unqualified to a qualified. But that is during our retreat. We can't do that conclusion now. But all indications are this auditor was very generous to you. You want to explain?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, this is also similar to the earlier cases of arrears, where the system generated figures in the process of distributing these figures. So when for us we are making our cash flow, we had to adjust based on the figures that were in the system, in the TB.
But Madam, I don't think you
May
are
I
doing-
request,
you are-
Chair, may I request that we are given chance and we have this explanation, close explanation as we are looking at all the figures.
When?
You can give us any.
Unfortunately,
And maybe we discuss with the one of
Yeah, I've not understood that explanation. Close explanation. What is that?
I mean, so that as we get the figures, because now these figures, I'm getting them now. I'm getting the issues now. But I have got work.
but we can point you to a page, to a column, right instantly.
It can't. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, how much,
because of the system,
how much time does she want to make that explanation closer?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We are time bad. For us, we are going to, but give you a window, to put a written explanation and send it. We get at the spirit. We sustain them with the provision, what they call a rider, with the rider that you have a latitude to move the committee by writing a detailed explanation. Now, on domestic areas, you had zero budget. No, I want to read to her. You had zero budget for domestic areas, and you went ahead and spent 392 million on domestic areas. Because finally, accounting officers, what all points to is that your entity indeed, as per the observation of the auditor, did significant diversion of funds. And we're not saying you ate the money. We are saying you diverted the what? The funds.
Chair, and we use the funds available to clear that because it would become more expensive if we pushed it forward.
Yes, whether you had a court case or not. It is provided under treasury operations. Finance. Mandamus is a direct charge. It can't be under you. You see, the problem when you come here, literally, on some of these issues, we know what response you are likely to give, and we know the explanation. It can't be you. Because it is a court case, it's under mandamus, and it's in treasury operations. Even if you had spent it, you should have thought a supplementary. Even if the entity had gone out of its way to spend it, you should have thought authority.
I'm director in future that we have this issue, but we not Nandutu, it's Nandudu. It's called Nandudu with D, not T. Don't mix the issues. The last two paragraphs. Two last paragraphs. Before your signature, Madam Director.
To the best of my knowledge and belief, these financial statements are consistent with the books of accounts which have been accurately maintained. I accept responsibility for integrity and objectivity of these financial statements.
And we're not hearing anything. We would like to hear also what the ED is reading. Maybe. That's the reason why I suggested. Yeah, because maybe I would be following from her lips, but now even when I can't hear the microphone, I can't even see the lips, I don't understand, Mr. Chairman. Could she make it, add some volume? At least we have now taken till we can talk.
Okay, Madam, just be loud.
To the best of my knowledge and belief, these financial statements are consistent with the books of accounts which have been accurately maintained. I accept responsibility for the integrity and objectivity of these financial statements, and financial information they contain and their compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2015 as amended.
The question is in integrity and objectivity. When they are missing important pages and you take responsibility for the integrity, thoroughness, reliability, truthfulness. We've taken note, honorable colleagues, you should be able to provide that statement. Madam, among the documents you will send, be able to provide that statement. 1.6, honorable colleagues.
Chair,
Is there?
in the process of photocopying, the 2 pages were, I think, missed, page 14 and 15.
Yes.
15.
You see, that's the, yes, they are missing, but you see.
And I take responsibility.
You take responsibility. You take responsibility. That's why, yes, of course, you will be able to submit them in. 1.6, and I took procedure to confirm the activities, to confirm if activities implemented by the entity were implemented in a timely manner, were of acceptable quality, quantity, cost, and functionality. I sampled 31 activities with the total expenditure of 1.6 billion. Below is my findings. Diagnostic machine, MR not functional, and renovations works. Now, this is what you, by time of audit, you on 1.6 table. Diagnostic services. Total expenditure page, table 6. Total expenditure, you had spent money, 388. By the time of audit, the MRI machine was non-functional and renovation works were complete. But for you are now saying it is not full, it's now fully functional. We need a verification on that. Surgical services. Kidney transplant delayed. Other surgical services implemented. So what do you mean here? You spent all that amount of money?
Chair, of course, we have many surgical services on which we spent, but the kidney transplant is what we hadn't implemented, and we implemented it by close of the calendar year, December 2023.
Internal medicine and rehabilitation services, 229 million, and absorption of 75. All the specialty units are functional. Medical research carried out with cost. Honorable colleagues, the next one is the payroll, which I intend to take you to 3. Okay? This one, Madam, other matters, they of emphasis. Point 30, access to medicine and supply is a global concern and sustainable development goal SDG 3 of Agenda 2030 and 2030 and goal of agenda.
So, Chair, we need to seriously look through this because it is very abnormal and pure unacceptable. If Mulago is to serve our people, if this is a hospital, a national referral hospital that serves the community, that serves people who cannot afford private services out there, we cannot afford to have a budget that is underfunded to this extent, Honorable Chair. Yes, we know we have noted the drugs that are not supplied. It is true. But we should take interest into the budget that is given to Mulago National Referral Hospital when it comes to the issue of drugs.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Procurement plan, which we submitted to them. But you know, by the end of the year, of course, when we are stressed and we need more supplies, this is a government entity and we place an order, they were able to supply us. It's like they were front loading for the next year. Otherwise, like by June, May, we are low on supplies and it would be unfortunate not to handle any patients. And our emergency unit, which is the busiest, I was looking even at the statistics for last year and this year, and I just looked at the neurosurgical cases. They have doubled, and we are still working with the same budget. The number of neurosurgery cases for trauma, which we handle in Mulago, have doubled, and yet we are still working with the same budget. And that's how we end up exhausting what we have and ask patients to buy.
But Madam Director, my question is, you are taking a credit of 300. At the same time, NMS has not delivered items, but you are closing the financial year, the store. Why can't you reconcile to have that? They have not delivered, and how do you front road then? Assume they don't deliver in time. What you are talking about front roading. Then you close off, then you move on.
Okay, I think in our report we wanted to bring out that budgeted for, some of them are not delivered by national medical stores, and wanted to quantify that.
Honorable colleagues, we've taken note. Query sustained. Don't worry. Query sustained. Can we go 4 need repairs, replacement, and services, implying that some equipment were not being maintained and some were obsolete, as shown in the figures below. Functional were 607. Function needs repair were 24. Non-functional 86. 12% of your equipments are non-functional. The obsolete medical equipment, the well-known service equipment may give wrong results, leading to inappropriate prescription and drug resistance or fatalities. You even have obsolete machines you are using that have the possibility of giving wrong. Can you believe? In a referral hospital, listen to the language of the auditor. We are talking about 86 equipments that don't work, and says obsolete medical equipment affects diagnosis, while non-service equipment may give wrong results, leading to inappropriate prescription and drug resistance or fatalities. What answer did the clinical officer explain that the budget for maintenance of equipment was inadequate, as the required budget was 13 billion, and the available budget was 4.9, hereby creating a deficit of 8 billion. But you are now saying, this auditor here says, you have a possibility of coming to Mulago, referral hospital, give you a diagnosis that is not right, give you wrong prescriptions, wrong drugs that can even lead to death.
And Chair, in addition, as she speaks to the issue of the, the shortfall in the budget of 8 failed to utilize around 353 million, 59 million. You did not utilize it. You had the money. Because of inefficiencies, you didn't use it. Much as the budget is limited.
But
even the little that you are given.
And said it was for particular equipment. But be as it may, it's by the auditor on this institution. So how sure are we confidence we have? Because if a machine is not working or not serviced, put it out of action. Can you believe? Let me give you an example. I'm just giving you an example. If people are going to be married and they come here, they do an HIV test. One is positive, another one is negative. But because your machines are wrong, they say you are all negative. Even God would be annoyed with you. Can you explain this? This is a language, and it not even, it said, the management takes note of the audit advice and continue to engage the Minister of Finance. So, you conceded to the verdict of the auditor, you did not even contest it. Is that because of you have inappropriate prescription, you give wrong drugs, you sometimes lead to death. You did not contest it. It is uncontested in your response. You said management takes note.
Management takes note that we've been doing it, we've been giving wrong prescription, wrong medicines, people die, people get infected. We're not as simple as that.
Finding by the Auditor General. And this we shall report to Parliament.
Chair.
Can you attempt to explain? You want to leave it on record? Yes, you want.
Chair, that response, but normally what non-functional equipment, we put it aside. But if we have not boarded it off, of course the auditors will capture it. But we do not use malfunctioning equipment when we are assessing patients. And
no, don't go there, madam. The auditor notices that some of the problems and service.
Chair.
And because of lack of, he's here, 24 equipment. We're not for boarding off. They were in need of repair and service, but they were operational.
Chair, I pray that we just move on because these people had the time to explain to the auditor. But if they did not do that, what are we going to change as a committee?
But then you should have stayed in our office and adopted the report.
Yeah, but now even if we are asking, you can hear the explanation she's giving. It is very glaring that their hands are tied, they can't do much. That's the explanation she's trying to give you. And she gave it to the Auditor General. So what are we going to change?
You know, we have a duty, much as we are here at the committee and on camera, some are live. We have a duty to maintain public confidence in the institution. At least that one as the chair. I don't want a debate that degenerates into lack of public confidence in the institution. Otherwise, our people will run away from there and go to Juakali fellows and get more issues. So let's rest it at that point. But it's a noted issue.
But Chair, sincerely, I don't think we are making wrong diagnoses and making wrong prescriptions.
That's why I gave you an opportunity to explain.
Yes. Because if like an equipment malfunctions, then you call in the biomedical engineers. They do an assessment. And if we can repair with our biomedical team, we do that. If it needs now calling in for repairs by external people, calibration, we do that. We have very many equipment. They sampled only 600. This institution being so big, we have equipment in thousands. So if you, and maybe one type of equipment, you find that maybe like the patient monitors, we have like 100. At any one time, not all of them will be up and running, you know, but we do not use really malfunctioning equipments on patients.
Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm Hope Grania Nakazibwe, woman member of Parliament, Mobende. I'm sorry I came in late, Chair. Now, Honorable Chair, consider all these obsolete and non-functional, unserviced, then it means almost all of them that remained behind were also serviced and were out of function. So, Madam ED, I think the explanation is making this whole scenario actually worse than it would be if left unexplained, actually, according to what you're telling us.
Honorable colleagues, because
another item, but not a surgical blade. And you know, that's why we've introduced patient affairs desk, so that these little complaints, if can be addressed and recorded, and then we can follow up.
What to do with it, because the patient passed on and at night, so there was nothing. Even I left with the doctor. He can't even disclose his name. I left with him now. But that critical item with certain younger person.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, on you what? But these desks can be there and the people working in these desks are not there. So are we going to just put complaints on the desk without anyone taking them? And is there, as human beings, who would want the institution where she's working in to be tainted? Anything can be the case, because even if I reported, they may end up reporting the wrong way, upside down. So that one is not going to be helpful at all. So what you need to do is simply to improve on what you are doing.
Yes, Honorable Sala.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to, I was trying to look at functional equipment, 86, because exactly what are we talking about?
Yes.
We may be blaming the team when the non-functional equipment already have other replacements and they are not, maybe they are obsolete, they are not necessary. So how I wish we had a list of these non-functional equipment so that we are able to assess whether they are really necessary or whether maybe they are non-functional and they have better, more current, up-to-date equipment that are being used. So that is just what I wanted to state. And Chair, I think the hospital is constrained financially. You can see they need 13 billion, but what is available is 4 billion for repairs. However, I want to find out from the executive director. That said,
yes, honorable colleagues, during our tour,
Chair, can I conclude?
Yes.
I wanted to find out from the executive director, because one thing that I know is that for some of the equipment, for some of when you send somebody, I don't know if you have an MRI now or some of these equipments, people pay for these services. I don't know if it is free. If it is not free, are we not better opting for a placement system so that somebody places the equipment there? Maybe you charge 100,000. If it is 100,000, maybe 20 goes to the government, or whatever, you agree on a sharing mechanism with the owner, so that when the equipment needs repair, it is up to the person who has placed it. Wouldn't this 4 billion be better utilized in that way, other than, you know, going for outright purchase, and then you do not have adequate resources to maintain this equipment?
But Sarah, anyway, Honorable Kawas.
Chairman, the accounting office also to tell us why not this equipment that are either obsolete or non-usable because of their state of conditions. Why don't they benefit from the last stage of PPDA? That these ones that are old or are not usable, they dispose them off. Mr. Chairman, I have seen elsewhere in other medical facilities where equipment are disposed of and people who can maintain them or buy them and maintain them, government can get revenue from them and they buy others. Why don't you put them to disposal under PPDA?
Thank you, Chair. On page 25 and 26,